That's not a plane.
Mysterious drones have been popping up in the night sky over New Jersey.
This is a video of the Morris County drones with characteristic triangle lights.
Residents sharing eerie videos like these on social media. Mike Walsh says he's been seeing them since mid-November.
They kind of sound like a helicopter, depending on how big they are is how loud they are. There's red and green lights on either side of them.
He reported them to local police, but has not received any explanation. Other residents say the drones seem to fly in coordinated groups, appearing every night except Thanksgiving and disappearing as soon as the sun comes up.
Just looked out the window at 6 o'clock and there were 7 or 8 hovering right near my home. It's a complete violation of privacy and unnerving. I couldn't sleep last night.
Authorities saying there's no known threat to public safety, but residents have stayed on alert.
This is bizarre. There's more over there. Look. Holy cow. Look, guys. There's one there, one there, one there. Oh.
The drone sightings are near the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, a frequent overnight stop for President-elect Trump. Drones have been banned over Trump's golf course, and now the FBI is investigating. Residents are frustrated at the lack of information from authorities.
We want to know what's happening, and we want it to stop.
Yeah, I have so many questions, Steph. I mean, first of all, could there be any legal consequences for whoever is behind it?
All right, well, technically by New Jersey law, if these drones are registered and they are at least 400 feet above buildings, then they're legal. But they're clearly alarming people, and you can understand why, because it's been happening repeatedly. And as some of those people in our story have said, they're just not getting answers from law enforcement.
And they're big, too.
And they're big. Some of them as big as small cars, which, if you've seen drones are normally,
I didn't even know they could be that big.
Yeah.
This is the Nation's Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. Large drones, maybe some even being the size of a small car, have been hovering in formation over northern New Jersey. And some of you might be thinking, well, what's going on next? What's the next agenda? Is this potentially Project Bluebeam? Is this another government psyop like the Chinese spy balloons that we saw? And what you need to realize, if you're new to all this stuff, is that this is a game. Every single day that we wake up, we turn on the news or hear any news stories or see anything going on in the sky, this is a game that's being played around us. It's a psychological game. And if you didn't notice, the things that have been going on with drones are nothing new, and they're not going to go away. In fact, you're going to continue to get desensitized and seeing stories about drones flying over your home. And it's going to get to the point like in today's world where we see planes flying over our home, leaving long streaks in the sky that eventually become haze clouds in the sky that we now look at and don't even realize, at least the sheeple don't, that they're actually chem clouds, that they're not real clouds. Because when it happens, and it happens again and again and again, you become desensitized to it. And drones is the next thing you're going to become desensitized to. And when I say this is a game, I say it's a game from the perspective of think about what the Democrats have done for the last 4 years, deliberately working together with the Republicans. The Democrats have allowed, without explanation whatsoever, crime to run amok. They have allowed criminals out of jail. Every single news story that any of us have seen on national TV, on local news, is showing us criminals running in the streets free, running into Nordstrom's and Target and running out, looting stores. Well, they put that out there deliberately because it's a game. And psychologically, when you see that game and you see all these criminals running free, you start to feel fearful if you actually believe the news and believe the stories that are out there. And you don't actually realize that the government is doing it themselves, hiring people, paying people to loot these stores and letting them run free. So when you see that, you get fearful and you say, we need to stop this now. Kind of like the Republicans are screaming, we got to stop this. We got to get a grip on America. Everything's going crazy. Well, that's how it works, problem, reaction, solution. So Democrats allowed all this chaos with crime. And what's the solution? The solution Donald Trump and Elon Musk and this new Republican regime are going to bring in is a police state, a surveillance state. So get used to seeing the drones flying above. Because if they didn't want these things up in the sky in the first place, the government themselves would shoot them down. Now, of course, you're going to hear stories about how it's China spying on Donald Trump over at Donald Trump's golf course in New Jersey. You're going to hear stories about potential UFO sightings and the government trying to keep it secret from you by not investigating what it is, how the FBI can't seem to do anything about it, continuing to look like bumbling fools, right? Where they're pretty much admitting that they're actually not even real drones because they're telling us they're the size of small cars. And the last I checked, when you went to Best Buy or any one of these stores that sells drones, there weren't drones the size of cars inside of the store. So clearly, these are government flown, quote unquote, drones or unidentified flying objects, if that's the narrative that they want you to believe. But one way or the other, for them to come out and play incompetent is completely hilarious. That the FBI isn't shooting them down, that the FBI is asking civilians for help. Well, of course, that plays into this whole theme of getting rid of the FBI and getting rid of the CIA, which, of course, sounds great on paper because they're the most corrupt organizations on the earth, the intel agencies. But that's not what's really going to happen because just like the OSS turned into the CIA and the FBI will just be renamed something else under Donald Trump. And then conservatives will say, oh, that's wonderful and it's great. And they'll be operating on artificial intelligence. And of course, drones are a huge part of this AI governance, a major part. You may even remember the drones that you just saw in that clip looking awfully familiar to the drones that we saw in I Pet Goat. And you may also even remember seeing a lot of these drones popping up around, some of these major forest fires that have occurred, of course, because the government has been sending drones to start these forest fires that they're blaming on the climate. And if we look at AI governance and the AI Governance Alliance, this is exactly what it looks like. A police state, a surveillance state, drones flying around normally. The World Economic Forum, right? Always goes back to them because they're the ones who are blueprinting out this new world order. And even though conservatives have figured out that the World Economic Forum and the Fourth Industrial Revolution and Klaus Schwab are the globalists, they don't seem to understand that the same talking points that they're using when it comes to their new world order are the same things that Donald Trump and Elon Musk plan on implementing. The World Economic Forum, this pioneering airspace management system, can unleash the societal benefits of drone tech. The World Economic Forum, drones piloted by AI could prevent wildfires. So what does this mean? It means you could expect to see a world where artificial intelligence drones are flying around us, policing us. In fact, it's already underway. And it sounds an awfully lot like the movie They Live, right? It looks a lot like this.
Who are you, little fella? Come to show them where I am. Not nice.
Unfortunately, the only difference between that scene and the real world is that if you shoot one of these things down, you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison because they're going to make sure that if you mess with their tech, if you try to short circuit Johnny Five or shoot down a drone, you're going to spend more time in prison than somebody who commits an act with the child. Those will be the facts of the future. And they're already implementing this, right? They're already implementing artificial intelligence being used as surveillance, as the new police force. Donald Trump recently, I covered this, using that robo-dog patrolling Mar-a-Lago. This is just the beginning. I love how people just ignored this story about how Trump was using robo-dogs, just like China. Just like China did during the outbreak. They had these robo-dogs walking the streets, making sure nobody went out past curfew. And if they did go out past curfew, those things immediately alerted human being police to come and arrest them, right? Although in China, and I'm sure here soon too, these things will be obviously armed themselves and be able to take care of business themselves. In New York City recently, Mayor Adams saying drones will be the first responders, the drone first responder program, which will reduce response times and keep New Yorkers safe. So they come in the name of safety, of course. The drones will be there quicker than a human. The drones will make sure that there are, that human beings don't get caught up and get run all around the city so that there's enough policemen to take care of crimes. So the drones will be sent out First, the 911 calls, sending out drones now. Even stories like this, 2 juveniles arrested as more police departments use drones to fight crime. Police use a drone to catch a teen driver doing donuts, right? The police themselves couldn't catch the guy doing donuts, so what did? They sent out the drone to fly around the town, and everybody applauded it and said, great, now they stop people from doing donuts. And little by little, it will go from crimes like burglaries to even things like guys doing donuts in the road that are under full-on surveillance. Police drones responding to 911 calls in Colorado. This really is the future of law enforcement. These are things that I've been covering because they're desensitizing you into accepting this as part of our reality. That's what they do. They little by little start implementing these things, start flying these things around. Have you noticed all the drones at the halftime shows of Super Bowls, at the Olympics in Las Vegas? They make these big, things up in the sky, and everybody drools and is oohing and eyeing over it. That's desensitizing you to a future where these drones are flying among us. And you might sit here and you might say, that's crazy, that'll never happen. The more desensitized, which means the more you see this stuff over and over again, you become desensitized. The more you become desensitized, the more that you just accept it in our reality. The first time somebody saw one of those planes leaving a trail of what they were calling water vapor in the sky over a town in whatever state the first one was flown in back in the 90s, people were saying, what is that? People would actually look up when they heard planes. Now people don't even look up in the sky when they hear a plane above. They're so used to it, right? Now when they look up and they see these planes who are leaving quote-unquote water vapor, which we know is barium and aluminum, among other things, nobody's even blinking because they've become desensitized to it. And that's why you're going to see more stories like insurance companies using drones to inspect homes, evaluate storm damage. Remember, I covered this a few months ago, a few years ago. It's been going on for years now, where insurance companies are flying drones over your home. The government's saying that they're allowed to do it because the airspace, they're allowed to go up there. They're allowed to fly over your home. You don't own the airspace above your home. But of course, the corporations do. So it's okay for them to spy on you above your home with a drone for the insurance purposes, right? Or other stories. We've seen drones washing airport traffic control towers. We see them in cities now. That's called desensitizing. Drone here, drone there. Next thing you know, there's a drone at your mailbox and you don't blink, because once you become used to this and you don't push back and reject it, it becomes a part of our reality. And that's what they're attempting to do here. So all these stories will circulate about the FBI investigating mysterious drones flying over New Jersey, and everyone will say that it's something to do with China spying on Trump, that it has something to do with maybe UFOs, potentially Project Bluebeam, all things that are going to likely happen. I mean, Bluebeam is eventually going to happen. There will be psyops, obviously, always with China and Russia and Trump. And of course, the conservatives will always believe that Trump is under attack. So these stories actually feed into that narrative, that delusion that they're in, that the deep state is so anti-Trump that they're sending drones over his golf course because they're going to go after him again. And the more they think this in their mind, the more they support Donald Trump. And the deeper they get into their psychosis, which makes it nearly impossible to pull them out of the psychosis, while Donald Trump, right in front of them, begins building out AI governance with Elon Musk at his side. This is what AI governance looks like. This is what Donald Trump and Agenda 2030 are going to move forward with. Like I said in the beginning of the video, they work together and everything they do is a game. It's a game against us. We're pawns in their game. And what they do with the news is they manipulate your perception of reality to make you want the things that they want to implement. So every story for 4 years has been about what? Immigrants running across the border. Nobody can stop them all of a sudden. Criminals, even though we have all of this high-tech technology, running into Nordstrom's, breaking, smashing things and stealing them and running out, and the police not arresting them. Democrats saying they want to defund the police. Stories about subways in New York that now need to have weapon scanners in the cities because it's gotten so dangerous. Problem, right? And everybody's reaction out there is they feel unsafe. They don't want to travel. They don't want to go to the store. They don't want to leave their home. They want the government to protect them because all the stories that they're hearing that the government are creating themselves, they believe is truth. So they want the government to fix the problem. And the government says, here we are, we're gonna fix the problem. Or in fact, we're gonna align ourselves with the same conservatives that think they understand the New World Order and the deep state, that think that Donald Trump is trying to prevent it when in fact he's about to bring in a surveillance state. And this is exactly what it looks like. Expect more stories about drones, just like the ones I keep showing you. If you Google or you look up whatever you use to search stuff, just look up every day stories about drones and the police, drones and 911. There's story after story. I'm sure I could literally do a story every day from somewhere in America where they're talking about a crime being stopped or juveniles being stopped because of drone surveillance, because the police put drones out and the drones saved everybody. You got the Mar-a-Lago robo-dog out there. You got Elon Musk pushing the humanoid robots. How people don't see what they're doing is beyond me. Again, it's like I keep using the reference to somebody who's in a dysfunctional relationship. When you're in the relationship, you don't know. You don't see it. You're blind to it, right? Everybody on the outside is saying, how is this woman with this guy? This guy is so abusive. He's so horrible. He says these things right to her face and she doesn't even respond to it. He's abusive, right? And then when that person finally realizes it and finally gets out, then they start to say, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize this. And everybody goes, yeah, it's been going on a long time. They're like, I'm so sorry. I was so blinded by my love and blinded by my zeal. Exactly. And that's exactly what this is. Everybody's so blinded because they created a martyr, they created a hero, and they tried to make you relatable to this guy. They tried to make you relatable to Elon Musk, telling you that you can't talk on the internet anymore unless you go on Elon Musk's platform, right? You couldn't fight back. You couldn't continually make new channels and try to fight the censorship like, I don't know, people that sound like me try to do every single day. You got to go to X, and down X you get freedom. So then you create these heroes that make you think that they're on your side because they're giving you this and they're giving you that. Meanwhile, they're leading you right into the globalist AI government that they've had planned from the get-go. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.